Good evening and welcome to the Stanzas of Geekness, Return of the Geeks, Episode 3. Netflix and Raw? Smackdown in USA? Well, you
You,
guys know what
you,
we're up to.
you people. You should all be ashamed of yourself. How dare you boo Jimmy Hart like that? He didn't deserve that. He did nothing wrong. He came out with his megaphone. He tried to pump up the crowd with the American flag, and you booed him for it, and I'll never forgive you.
Are they saying boo or booers? That's the whole vibe of that moment. We'll get into the exact reasons why Jimmy Hart was booed.
yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah. I'm sure it was Jimmy Hart.
So, a little bit of different format kind of this week. AEW shows did not suck for once. AEW shows did not suck for once, so that's great. We're gonna kind of briefly highlight what we liked and what we didn't like. First and foremost, the cleaner, the best bout machine, is back in AEW. I'm
Oh
super happy
man.
to be back. And to quote,
Okay,
our buddy Jeremy King Chaos, my cousin from down the road is back.
okay. Can I just say, like, there was an opportunity that WWE really blew back in the 90s when they had Hulk Hogan and Ric Flair at the same time, the two biggest stars in the industry, and you didn't have them go one on one. Tony Khan is in a position right now. You know what Kenny Omega can do. You know what Okada can do. Give it to me one more time. Run back, run back Okada Omega, and
Actually,
I will start forgiving you, Tony Khan.
same. Well, and the thing is, it'll be their first match really on American soil for an American brand. Um, obviously it's been quite some time. We don't know if Kenny's quite able to wrestle the complete style he once did. He did have a match in New Japan against Gabe Kidd. It was a beautiful match. It brought Tanahashi to tears,
Hmm.
uh, which is, that's saying something. We'll talk about the real American piss water later, Dan. Uh,
Dan, I know you got a lot to say, and as always, we will get into you know communicating back and forth with you towards the later half of the show. But we got a lot to get through tonight because I mean, we got AEW and, of course, the huge, colossal four-match card of Raw. So bear with us here for a minute, buddy.
yep. You know, it's there's a lot to go over. We had a lot to talk about. I just shared the link to our Facebook group, guys. So just make sure you're checking out there. We've got some affiliate links we're going to be sharing as well for referral links through StreamYard as well. So we're hoping to be able to eventually branch this out to being streamable on YouTube, Twitch, and maybe even TikTok if it lasts long enough to stick around.
Yeah,
But yeah,
and you know what? I'm sorry, man. I'm a little remiss. I should have said, I meant to bring this up as soon as we started. Evan and I both want to send out all our heartfelt prayers and condolences to everyone uh, in the fires out in Los Angeles right now.
yeah,
It's a
that's also
real.
something that we've been kind of monitoring just because I've got friends who live out there on the West Coast in Cali. It's always a danger out there, and we people in the business, so we know as well. They did find Melina, so I was happy to see that.
I shared that. Like, that was so scary. Like,
Yeah,
I got family out there too, man. It's so scary. What's it literally looks like a scene from a movie.
it
Like, it
reminds me of
doesn't look real.
the Escape from New York, Escape from L.A. movies with Kirk Douglas. Yeah, Kirk Douglas.
Uh,
Blanking on the name.
Kurt Russell.
Kurt Russell. Sorry, guys. I
Uh,
fell asleep
I,
with
I,
my toddler
all,
earlier today.
all I could think of was that '90s volcano movie with Tommy Lee
Oh,
Jones. Like,
was that?
that
Oh,
takes place
yeah.
in
I've
L.A.
seen the
Yeah.
one with. Is that Pierce Brosnan is also in that one too? Where it's like some super volcano that like
No, no,
blows.
that's a different one. That's a different one.
Oh, okay. Okay. There's a lot of movies from
That,
the He's actually
Dante's Peak. Anyway.
Anyways, let's get back to wrestling, guys. Yeah, I mean, I'm happy Kenny's back. They have, like you said, the opportunity to do Omega versus Okada 4. Whole new trilogy is possible with those two on American soil. Tony Khan, please do it. You might actually get me to buy an AEW ticket if you do that.
I yeah, I would have to say I'd be all in for that. Yeah, just saying.
Yeah. And then another thing, I'm actually really happy to be wrong about something when it comes to AEW. Ricochet, they made him look like an absolute dork a couple weeks ago with the toilet paper thing with Swerve, and we were kind of scratching our heads with where's this going, but we were waiting to see. Well, he went full American Psycho Norman Bates and absolutely brutalized Swerve with a pair of scissors. They have turned him into a psycho heel instead of a chicken shit heel, which is great. I'm glad to be wrong about that. Thank you to Ricochet, and Tony on an amazing job they did with Swerve too. I don't want another ex-WWE star in my DMs on Instagram.
I think it was on like it really did come across as one of the worst debuts of a switching talent, like even including the Monday Night War stuff from years ago.
It seemed really weird to make him look like a dork multiple times on purpose. Clearly, it was to cause him to snap to set this up. I'll give them credit for giving us a little bit of a swerve with that. No pun intended.
I think it was not a long one, but a slow burn. Sometimes you do. You need a little bit of slow burn to set up a story, and I can appreciate that. Well done.
Well, I'm willing to give it a chance. That's my thing. I see some people in the comments talking about how they're not sure if they could buy him being a chicken shit heel or a psycho. He did some heel work in New Japan and Lucha Underground for a little bit too. He has played a babyface for a really long time in WWE, but honestly, he kind of needs to get the WWE Vince McMahon stink off of him. The booking towards the end of his time there was better, but they did him no favors. I highly suggest you guys go read or watch the Chris Van Vliet interview he did. It's very informative.
Well, were you maybe willing to forgive or give a chance to the Ricochet stuff? And I am too. How do you feel about that new Adam Copeland name?
I can't cope.
Are you coping with it?
I can't. Here's my thing. So I grew up. Edge was one of my favorites in the Attitude Era, and through Ruthless Aggression. I get it. They can't use Edge. You missed a golden opportunity to not name him Ledge. It's got the name association. It's also funny. It also is where I'm at with AEW on the Ledge. Like honestly, it's really cringe, and it reminds me of like new generation gimmick naming.
And you add in this crappy Jon Moxley feud, and it makes me want to jump off the ledge.
Exactly. It's just I'm still trying to be patient and give it time. However, I don't feel like it's benefiting anybody involved. Wheeler, Yuta, and Claudio are doing some good tag team work. The match they had with the Outrunners was really good, which the Outrunners are one of my favorite tag teams currently in the business. Like they're gas, like 1980 style, baby faces. They could get there one day of being a megastar team with the right booking and the right story. This ain't it though. This ain't it. I'm just anytime Moxley comes on to the camera, and this is not necessarily a knock on him. I don't know if he's doing it on purpose. I just feel like it's a charisma vortex, and it's not for a lack of effort. I think it's just the story has no charisma. It doesn't have a bite to it. It doesn't have me hooked. It has me going, huh?
Well, the thing is, everyone likes to go out there and make these bold proclamations, like we're going to revolutionize the industry. What?
That's gimmick infringement.
The idea that you're going to lead this giant revolution really means nothing unless first you establish very clearly what it is you're
Fighting.
revolutionizing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and two, you need to I don't know, how do I say this? Do something. Like,
Mm-hmm.
talk is cheap, boys, and saying you're gonna like change the whole business, dude, you can't even change your TV show. Like,
It encourages me to change my channel.
that's true.
So
And
that's the
I'm
goal.
gonna change topics at this point. Like, that's about
Yeah.
it for me on this one.
Yeah. I mean, both AEW shows this last week were above average in comparison to what they put out lately. There was quality matches. I'm interested in MJF versus Jeff Jarrett. I don't think we've, I was talking with you earlier. I don't think we've had Jeff Jarrett as a babyface that I can recall since WCW. I didn't get to really watch too much early TNA because I didn't have cable then.
He did, yeah, he did have a time as babyface in TNA against heel Dixie Carter. They were kind of like at odds, but it was. I'm not saying it was good, but I'm saying he was a babyface. But I do like the idea of MJF, who is still, very, very young. Despite the fact that like he really carried AEW through his world title run, which I give him credit for, despite the fact that he had to turn babyface, and I didn't like where it all went to in the end. Okay,
Yeah, I think
but
that whole
I think he
storyline
was
was pretty good.
I think he was overexposed. I think he was overworked. I don't think that's on him.
I think it's just shitty booking, and I think Tony Khan needs to step back. No offense, dude. No offense.
Yeah, no, and that's what I'm
If you
saying.
pay someone
Everything,
a couple hundred
but
$1,000 a year to book something, call us. Call us.
but
We'll fix your
MJF
show.
MJF really did put in all the effort he
Yeah, he
could,
sold it.
and the majority of it was really, really good
It's
in
entertaining.
quality. So yeah,
Yeah,
that that caliber of young talent working with an experienced talent like Jeff Jarrett, um, I'm interested to see where it goes. I
yeah.
think it has a lot of potential to let MJF really grow as a performer.
Well, imagine the promos where he just literally picks Jared apart for, all the stuff with the Angle family and like, all that stuff and like, there's a lot of legs
No,
there. I don't think they'll do it,
no, no,
but
no, no.
like,
If you really want to have a deep cut feud with Jeff Jarrett, and it might actually be possible to work this out because of the relationship they have with his widow. You
Owen,
need to bring up Owen and the
yeah,
fact that it was Jarrett and Owen doing the Blue Blazer thing, and if Jeff had been up there, Owen wouldn't have been. Like, if Jeff hadn't made Owen do the Blue Blazer gimmick, Owen would still be with it. Like, you can go different ways with it and
yeah,
basically blame Jeff Jarrett outright for the death of Owen Hart. And as soon as you do that, I mean,
nuke.
that's nuclear heat right there.
Yep. That's why I was sitting there. I was just like, I had the thought. I was just like, oh, this could end up in the Owen Hart Invitational Finals where MJF puts Jeff Jarrett
Oh my
over.
God! If that was the way that they ended the tournament, how amazing! And
Then
like,
Jarrett gets a world title shot, and it's still
yeah, yeah. I'm down for that. I am down for that. Um, we'll see if Tony Khan actually can think that far ahead. I can believe that Jeff Jarrett could. I could
yes,
believe that Jeff Jarrett booked this, but I have
yes,
a hard time believing that Tony Khan um,
yeah,
had that much forethought.
yeah. And then the last thing I think I really want to highlight is Tony Storm, Chris Statler, and Willow Nightingale had a really good triple threat match. It was very entertaining. I'm really liking the Tony Storm amnesiac gimmick that they're going with her. It's a refreshing take on her character, the ability to quickly switch. But I also want to pay compliments to Mariah May and Harley Cameron. They managed to get me back interested in feuds with Mariah May. Harley Cameron might be the most entertaining woman in professional wrestling. She can sing.
Ooh, whoa, whoa, whoa! That's a bold statement,
It
my
is a
friend. That's
bold
a
statement, and
bold statement.
honestly, a year ago, I would have laughed at my own statement there. She can sing. She can do comedy. She can do serious. She's got the look. She knows how to wrestle, and she's getting better every single week. It's there. They just have to kind of bring it up. Well, that's enough of dealing with slightly above average products. Let's talk about WWE Raw, Monday Night Raw on Netflix.
Here we go.
Yeah.
All right.
So full disclosure, we have two very different opinions on how this show went out, and I want you to talk about yours first.
You as an overall?
Just kind of what overall, like what you liked, what you didn't like, and we can kind of go back and forth.
All right. So I guess right out the gate, we'll start with my opinion, my overall grade for the show, and then I'll get into some of my reasonings why. Overall, out of 10, I gave the Netflix Raw a solid 4 stars.
That's actually better than our initial conversation.
I thought it was mid. I thought it was below average. I was disappointed in it's a 3-hour show and you had 4 matches. I think that's abysmal, and you dropped it down from a 5-match card to a 4-match card. I was really hoping to see Ray and Penta together. I think that would have been an amazing debut. Didn't and could have had legs into a storyline, which we both said that's the match for WrestleMania we want to see. We want to see Penta versus Ray.
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense.
You could have started that off with this Raw. It would have been hype. I mean, I understand starting with Roman and Solo. Personally, that one is the one I kind of wanted to be the main event over the Seth and CM Punk, mostly because Seth and CM Punk, I feel, is going to be the beginning. I feel like that was match 1 of a series where Roman and Solo had a lot more stakes built into it with the Uno Fala.
I do agree that it did feel like it was the main event until that promo segment the week before. I would have 100% agreed with you. The moment those two went barb for barb, unscripted, and they went to the places they went, that had to be the main event.
Okay, Roman, I will grant you that.
Yeah,
that was an amazing promo set, and that right there is the whole reason we should not have scripted promos in professional wrestling.
Yeah,
give them bullet points.
Yep. This is what I need you to sell. You guys make it work.
Yep.
That's exactly how I would handle it.
I was, right out the gate, I was pissed about The Rock coming out there and just burying the entire feud with Cody Rhodes. Just because here's the thing. Cody was like, this is my story, right? Mm-hmm. I'm on my whole quest to win the championship. And The Rock shows up and is like, oh, I'm here, I'm gonna derail shit.
Again.
And that's exactly what it feels like again. Well, great, bitch, now it was time for you to show up and you didn't show up. I was ready for Cody Rhodes versus The Rock.
Yeah, and I think honestly, I think that was their original plan. I think these live-action Moana reshoots at Disney, I think were unplanned, and I think are exactly why we won't see Dwayne suit up in tights at WrestleMania. I think at most he'll be an interference piece, or maybe in someone's corner.
Well, and I don't think he'll be a heel. Where's my final boss?
Yeah, it was a little. So
I made this. It was a post I made on Facebook. I said these words. Can you imagine playing a video game? You quest all the way to the end, and you get to the final boss, and he waves at you with a smile and says, "That's my good friend."
Yeah, No,
What the?
so I understand why they did it. It was to turn him babyface because he's got to still take it to Moana. His daughters are there. I understand the why. I
It
think
could have been. It could have been done in a milder way, though, that would have made it more digestible. Like if he would have looked at Cody and said, "Cody, I want you to get in the ring. Get in the ring with me right now. Like start off angry. Start off as that final boss, and look at him and go, I didn't believe in you. I thought you were going to lose that champion. Yeah, exactly. I thought you were going to lose that championship in 2 months. I was ready for you to lose me money. I was ready for you to lose The Rock money. I don't like The Rock doesn't like losing money. The Rock doesn't like having a weakling as the champion. But you proved The Rock wrong.
yeah,
Boom. Okay.
there's a better way to do it, and I think that would have been. I'm really tired of Dwayne going over on time. Things get cut because Dwayne goes over on time. He said the promo segment was entirely way too long. What also pissed me off, and it could be just because I'm dealing with, recently having a friend pass due to, getting behind the wheel and being intoxicated. I didn't like the WWE backstage social media people catching The Rock drinking tequila with Cody Rhodes and thing, and then getting into his truck and driving. That pissed me off. As a fan, it kind of turned me on.
Okay. Well, let me like throw it at you because I want your opinions here too. Look, you see the tie dye guys. And I've never hid that I got a little bit of that hippie in me. That being said, I never thought see someone come out smoking a blunt in the middle of a packed arena on Raw.
Near children, mind you.
Like, I get. Here's the thing: is like I've been in the locker room with high profile like stars, and it is true. Like I'm not gonna lie about it. They do get special privileges, special treatment. Like, oh, if this guy wants to light up a cigarette, even though it's a non-smoking area, you kind of look the other way because it's this guy. But that's also like in more of a closed setting, not out giving your public persona. And I mean, at this point, seriously, how pissed off is our favorite bro that he got fired?
Well,
and now you have,
his situation was slightly more complex because he wasn't just doing that.
Fair. But, okay, Rob Van Dam. Rob Van Dam got suspended. Liv Morgan got suspended.
Well, Liv got arrested for possession.
She also took a short suspension.
Yes. It sends a different message, and if you're going to do that, that's fine. I would like consistency, though, and at this point, Roman Reigns got fired for this, or not fired, suspended a little bit early on in his career for the same thing.
Yes.
And you and I both know neither of us have a problem with that. I just think that it doesn't send the greatest message, especially to your sponsors.
Yeah. Unless they're all going with wrestling sponsors. Like maybe the Hulk Hogan beer thing was just like part one, and next we're gonna find out that he teamed up with Val Venus to pump his wheat store, and he's teamed up with Ric Flair to pump his brand of pot. Like, why not? Netflix
as long as we're not actually promoting Val Venus, the person, and we're promoting ValVenus.com, the correct website, because
give us money.
We don't support Val Venus here. He can eat a bag of dicks. But yeah, I definitely think that it's a lack of consistency in messaging. Yes, there's an irony there because of how homophobic he is.
All right. When it comes to the quality of the matches, this is the forgiveness part, because originally I did have a lower opinion of it. The match quality was really good, and a lot of times when you're backstage, okay, when you're backstage at indie events, you're being told you have 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 minutes for your match.
Mm-hmm.
In WWE, I've heard it's considerably shorter. You know, you got 3 minutes for your match. That's
Mm-hmm.
including your entrances. You know, the fact that they let these guys go out there and have full 20-minute bangers,
Yeah,
I
it was pretty.
will
Yeah,
I will give credit to that. I thought
yeah.
that the match with Jey Uso and Drew McIntyre is highly underrated. Why is nobody talking more about that match? That was a great match.
See, I have the
I
opposite
don't.
opinion. That was my least favorite of the matches on the card. You know, I personally thought it was basically a glorified squash match, and it kind of made Jay tricked Drew. It's the only win he's ever gotten over Drew. Every other time they faced off, Drew's won. He tricked him. He played possum and rolled him up with a crucifix. And
But see, I love that. I love that because it hints towards him one going back heel with the bloodline, and two that although the roll up gets overused all the time. Playing possum has like that. The art of playing possum went out with WCW, dude.
yeah, and I get it, but my problem with it is the fact that he's one of their top baby faces. He's not a heel. A babyface should not be playing possum. That makes you look incredibly weak. And he got obliterated the rest of the match by Drew. Like he did. He got some offense in, he got his licks in, but basically he was, got his ass beat. I thought the
Well,
match was a little, it could have been a little better. I
that's
thought,
fair.
from my perspective, you gave it a 4. I gave it a 6.5 out of 10, and which is, everybody who knows me, that's actually pretty good compared to past WWE things. Seth versus Punk, the main event, it delivered. Watching Seth crash out after Punk maybe winning a world championship and then coming back as a heel. Roman versus Solo. I thought the match was great. It reminded me a lot of the Attitude Era. It had the interference. It had KO pop up, hit Roman with a stunner. Cody comes out. They battle.
Didn't
Everybody
okay.
was
Wait, I
involved.
gotta ask. I'm not trying to down the performance of these guys, but didn't you find that match specifically to be a little predictable?
Yes. Well, it's because we've seen Roman versus Solo on multiple occasions throughout the last couple months. There hasn't been. This is the first time they've had like real stakes to it. But like, it was very obvious when the interference was going to happen, who was coming. Like it was predictably paced. That said, I think all the talent delivered. My concern actually is after the match. What does this mean for Solo Sikoa? He lost to Ulafala. He's no longer the tribal chief. He doesn't have the Rock support or Romans. I have a personal theory that I think Jacob Fatu and the Tongans are going to come back. They're going to beat down Roman and the rest of the bloodline. Solo is going to have his redemption arc. Join them for a 5-on-5 feud. That I hate you, Solo, instead of the I love you, Solo, is going to fucking hit like crack. Like, I think we're going to get, it could be a variety of pieces. I think we're going to get Roman Reigns, Sami Zayn, the Usos, and Solo Sikoa, probably Survivor Series next year, versus The Rock, Zilla Fatu, Jacob Fatu, and the Tongans. It's the only way to bring this full circle and to give it new air. Jacob Fatu has already surpassed what Solo brought to that feud originally. He was already outperforming Solo in the early stages of it when he came in, and that was a big fear a lot of people had.
Can can you add a fifth member to the Rock's team?
The two Tongans, Zilla, and Jacob Fatu and The Rock. That's five.
Okay, okay. Sorry.
Because I think
Okay.
I think we're going to get something where probably not this year, but next year, Rock versus Roman's probably got to happen. Because at this point, The
I
Rock's
mean,
not
I
going to.
really thought that. I mean, that was another possibility for WrestleMania this year that we were all like. I mean, that was the big thing. I think is we all have sat here for a year going, all right, this is all leading towards The Rock facing Cody or The Rock facing Roman.
And now,
I mean,
I think they have a lot of things penciled in, and I think they've moved a lot of pieces. But now I'm pretty sure we're getting Roman versus Punk, and we're getting Cody versus Cena, or Cody versus Drew.
And see, the thing is, like, I think Drew is like one of those people who's like being kind of misused at this point. Like maybe unless you're building them up for a bigger part down the line, and I'm really hoping. What I'd really love to see is a babyface turn where Drew was right the whole time. Roman, like he's back in power now, and just goes completely back to being that like super evil, narcissistic
He
tribal
hasn't
chief.
changed. He needs to have
He
that come to
hasn't
Jesus
changed.
moment. He hasn't had it yet. And I think
And
his come to Jesus moment is going to be this WrestleMania. I think he's going to lose
I
to
mean,
Cena.
I do think he'll treat the members of the bloodline that like
Better.
came back to him better than he treated them the first time.
Yeah.
Like I don't think it'll be that issue with the bloodline. Like I think he'll respect Jay. You know what I mean? I think he will legitimately believe and respect Jay because Jay's managed to, you know, he almost beat Roman at Survivor Series. Would have if it wasn't for Jimmy. Or sorry, SummerSlam. Excuse me. He he's won the Intercontinental title a couple of times now. You know, he's
They've all proven themselves being their own man. Even Solo Sikoa has.
yeah.
No, I definitely, and I could see that being a thing. Actually, fun fact: Drew's never beaten Roman in a one-on-one match. It's always been Roman winning. So maybe it's
Hmm.
leading to something like that down the line.
Oh, that would be cool. One thing though, I was not a fan of, and this is across all four matches. Finishers mean nothing at all.
Yeah, they're using the AEW trope. Like it's finisher after finish. Sell for the love of God. Just sell them. Even if it's not as hard as you normally would, just act a little dazed. Takes 2 seconds to act a little dazed and then recover. Um,
Yeah.
you know, overall, I still think it was, probably the second best match in the card. I think Seth versus Punk was the best in my opinion.
That's true.
Yeah, Cena was there too. Can't talk about John Cena's
And that
retirement.
was okay. Okay. Again, there was so much about this show, and this is part
Yeah,
of the reason I only gave it a 4. Um, okay, seriously, I got no hate for John Cena. Okay, none.
it was
But
repetitive
legitimately, that was John Cena's worst promo,
in 20 years.
worst acting that he's done since he was the prototype.
I'd put that on par with the Marine.
I think the Marine was better. I
It
think
might have
the
been. I don't know.
Marine was better.
But
Like
yeah, no,
that was god awful.
that was promo rust, is what I would like to call that. Promo rust.
Well, if maybe Roman shouldn't have been doing it so good for these past 2 years, so that Cena had a reason to come back and keep showing him how to do it. But
Yeah, I
that was really rough, and
he still
it
managed to.
honestly took me out. It took me out of what like Cena's like declaring himself for the Royal Rumble, and the thing is by the end of that promo, I
I was confused.
I had gotten to the point. Okay, I really don't want to see you versus Cody Rhodes.
Yeah, like I definitely can understand that. I think he was a little long-winded and a little out of practice. Um, I definitely agree that it was probably some of his worst acting he's ever done. That said, there's enough of value there that I'm still, convinced that I want to see the John Cena retirement tour. I'm convinced that I could believe him versus Cody being believable. I do think that if we get that, Cody has to turn heel either before or during the match. I don't think you can. If
I mean,
Cena
it'd be
wins,
an interesting way
he's
to
going
at
to need a
least
big babyface.
it'd be an interesting way at least to use it to turn one
Yeah.
of them heel.
Yeah.
And so like if that's the purpose for it, at least I can give it like a pass just because like it leads to something later. But I don't want see the thing is
Never.
then that's happening at WrestleMania, and WrestleMania shouldn't be the catalyst moment, as much as it is the finisher moment. I know that wasn't the case for the classic Bret Hart versus um, Stone Cold Steve Austin double turn, like that
Yeah.
was at 13.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
will
I mean, there's
shit
an
all
opportunity.
over your childhood. Give me a minute.
We will shit all over it.
Like just I'm not done because we haven't gotten to the shittiest of the shits yet. No. That's
to
all still
quote
to come.
Bully Ray, drizzling shits.
So, all right, you know what? Let's just get to the drizzling shits of it. So, you had a handful of big stars, big names show up for
Legends,
this, and
celebrities.
I actually have a different take on this. And my take, I've talked to you about this, about my opinion on why this part of why this happened, not the full reason,
Yeah.
but I have a different take that I haven't heard anybody else give yet, and so we're gonna go through that now. All right, so Hulk Hogan showed up and got the shit booed out of him, as he well should. He is a racist asshole. He's done some really said and done some really horrible shit the last few years. It's all been coming out, and I'm not giving it a pass.
He's a
Okay, I'm
narcissist.
really not.
He's a liar. He's a narcissist. Fuck
Okay,
Hulk Hogan. I'll stand on business.
okay, okay. Yeah. No, I'm not. I'm not. I'm not. But I'm not. But I'm being honest about like the world in general and
Yeah,
greater.
no.
Okay,
We have to have. It's important.
not everybody thinks like you and I, and so you have to imagine like what would it really take to get an entire arena of people to chant "fuck you, Hogan" at a wrestling event, at a WWE wrestling event,
Uncensored.
like like, and that was what was happening, like a straight "fuck you, Hogan" chant. And I know that like obviously the stuff, the racial stuff that he said, um, I'm sure had a huge amount to do with it. Um, but the part that irritated me was actually when he came out the next day. He Hogan came out the next day and said, "Oh well, I was in a Democratic state, a blue state, and I came out in support of Donald Trump. I'm a MAGA guy, and that's why I got booed." Well, listen, Hogan, if you're listening, and I'm not the first person to point this out, but we didn't boo the Undertaker, and he had Trump on his podcast and endorsed him. If Kane would have shown up, he endorsed Trump. We wouldn't have booed him. Triple H was there at the beginning of the show. There's plenty of pictures of Triple H and Stephanie with Trump. Nobody booed Triple
Listen,
H. Nobody booed Stephanie McMahon. This has nothing to do with MAGA, dude.
it's to do with
Here's
me.
another take. All right, so at the beginning of the show, The Rock came out and he made an announcement. He said that they made history with that show, that they had the biggest gate in WWE history. Now, if you understand what gate means, that doesn't mean the largest audience. That doesn't mean the most tickets sold. It means you made the most money off of the off of the tickets that you've ever made off of a WWE show.
Which is
You're
even
literally telling the people in attendance, "Hey, we made more money off of you guys tonight than we've ever made in history, even off of the WrestleMania."
which
By
kind of
the
makes
way,
them feel like they're treating them.
you're gonna get you're gonna get 4 matches tonight.
Yeah,
They're gonna be pay-per-view quality matches, but you're getting 4, and that's it.
in 3 hours, mind you. And mind you, when you attend a Raw, you're there about an hour and 15 minutes ahead of time too.
So now you start going through this show, and you're starting to realize these things as they're playing out. Cena's not performing exactly the greatest. The whole Rock Cody angle that you were excited for all year has
No.
been thrown in the trash. You're hearing that these guys made so much money off of you, and then Hogan comes out, and what does he do? He hawks his beer. He tells you that you need to pay his rich ass more money.
And that,
Go to hell.
yeah, no, and especially like, so, all right. So obviously, for those of you who know, Brian and I, we've been both pretty vocal in our dissent when it comes to President Trump, President-elect Trump. Um, it's 2016, 2020, 2024. It's all been kind of a crazy mess between election denying, COVID, all the racial stuff that even being a racist piece of shit sometimes. I'm not gonna bite my tongue on it. That said, we can all look at that objectively. People are allowed to have opinions. We can respect
Mhm.
people having opinions. We can disagree on policies and still like share a common community in media, but we can't justify racism. Hulk Hogan in that tape, it wasn't just that he was a racist. He went on a racist rant, and a very detailed racist rant, in basically a sex tape, where he had sex with his friend's wife. And because they were having
How
beef,
many?
it got
Like,
leaked.
think about how many strikes, by the way, that is like in just one go.
Yeah,
First, you got the sex tape. You're making the racist comment. It's with your buddy's wife. You're like,
while you're beefing with your buddy.
oh, and don't forget he was married too. He was
Yeah,
cheating on his wife.
or yeah, kind of, yeah. It's all convoluted. But like, my whole thing there is he's trying to save face, and this is something Hogan has done his entire career, and this is why even as a kid I didn't trust his ass. He is a narcissist. He's a pathological liar. He tries to get the audience to remember his view of things, his version of things, like his his claims about discovering Undertaker and all that stuff, and helping him get into Suburban Commando in 1991. Taker debuted in 1990. Taker was already a known fact. He was no longer Mean Mark Calloway. He was the Undertaker. Hogan, he designs, he pitches these stories around absurdity and around how he can manipulate the facts. He is a manipulator. He is a narcissist. It isn't that he's in MAGA. We can sit here
Not to be confused with the narcissist, which was actually Lex Luger.
and that's different. Hogan is a narcissist through and through, like textbook narcissist. And he gaslights and he lies. And I can understand why he would do that. It's to protect his fragile ego because he can't handle a narrative where he's not the fucking hero. I'm sorry, Hulk. You haven't been the fucking hero since the early 90s. There's a reason Bash at the Beach 96 got the reaction it did. It revitalized your career because you were the bad guy. But you were the bad guy in a fictional story. Now you're a bad guy because you're a terrible fucking person. And every single thing that Macho Man and all these legends, Iron Sheik, Sheiky Baby, fuck the Hulk Hogan, said about you has come true. It isn't because you support MAGA. It's because you're a racist. And people don't just turn a blind eye to that. And Mark Henry, he revealed on Busted Open that he offered to take Hogan on a tour of historically black colleges, campuses across the country to understand what went wrong and why it was getting the reaction it was getting the reaction for. Hogan had no interest. Hogan has no interest in rehabbing his reputation because he doesn't believe anything actually happened to it. He doesn't believe he actually did anything wrong. He gave a half-assed apology to the talents he saw backstage at WWE to save face.
Well,
I'm
and it
sorry, man.
really
You're going to be met with those
it
boos
clearly
forever.
it clearly shows he doesn't understand.
He never will.
Hogan believes his own hype. Okay, Hogan really believes that still to this day, everybody is cheering for Hulk Hogan and that he's this superhero. But and like that's why, like when he got booed last Monday, no, like he didn't understand it. It didn't click up here for him. It makes perfect sense to the rest of us because we were all like, "Fuck you, Hogan."
Yeah, I
He
mean,
doesn't
and
understand
we'll
it.
get
He's
into
still
this
the
more.
hero of his own stupid narrative.
Yeah, and we'll get the audience's viewpoints on this, in the comments later on at the end of the show. But like his beer, from what I've been told, tastes worse than fucking Miller Lite.
Ooh.
Like it's like worse than Rolling Rock.
I mean, I'm an IPA guy myself, so like, I probably
Yeah, I
wasn't
mean,
gonna.
I'm more of a I like IPAs. I like a good Oberon and whatnot in the summer with an orange slice. But
That's nice.
yeah, Too Hearted. But he never accepts responsibility, and I think that's what pisses me off most about this whole situation. He still doesn't take accountability, and I don't think anybody will ever forgive him or give him the time of day to get forgiveness until he can do so, and I don't think he deserves it. Enough of talking about that waste of hot dog skin, as Shiki would call him.
After Raw went off the air, Triple H did come out and said that this week's episode would be more like a traditional Raw that we're used
Yeah,
to.
that felt like an
I,
introductory piece to the global audience, if I'm being honest. It felt corporate and commercialized. And I think that kind of skewed a little bit of what we were expecting. We were expecting like a traditional Raw.
and while we don't get into results, we won't get into any results for tonight's show. Uh, I will say that I have seen some of it, and that it it followed that promise from Triple H. It did feel more like a normal Raw. So
Yeah. Overall, yeah, 6.5 out of 10 for me. I thought the production, the look and feel and presentation was great, and I have high hopes going forward.
but some of that, okay, wait, hold on though. But some of that presentation, do you still consider it great if it was just for that one episode? Like, it was really cool seeing those wide screen,
Yeah,
those
I like
wide
it.
crane shots that are like looping
Yeah,
all around, like they do at the
that
big
was cool, and
football
I think that
games.
if that's the norm, I'm all for it. Like if it's a special occasion thing, I'm still for it. But if it's just for that one, I'm against that.
Okay.
4.9 million viewers globally. That's insane. They haven't had, the 2.1 has been like their benchmark for a while, and that was, even then that's still really high. They've been in the 1.8s and 1.6s when they were still on cable. With AEW, I'll be interested to see what the Dynamite simulcast numbers are. I've heard rumblings of 2.1 million globally, which is insanely good for them too. So I think we're in a wrestling boom period. I think we just kind of have to wait and be patient.
Oh, I definitely agree with you there. We're definitely in a wrestling boom period. I think we've been going into a wrestling boom period for. I think it's been working up to that for a while now.
Honestly,
I actually think I would say it started about a year ago. To be honest, like I think WrestleMania last year was really the first show that I was like, okay, we've really stepped up to the next
yeah,
echelon, the next level.
yeah, it came across as less of a carny thing. And you know
Hmm.
how wrestlers and talents all hate the word carny. It no longer it seemed more mainstream and it seemed more palatable to the public. It seemed like there was more genuine interest. I'm excited for what's coming. Um, you know,
It's the word that Paul Heyman keeps using, bro. It's cinema.
yeah,
It's taking it to being at a cinematic level of entertainment, and I'm all for that.
yeah. Ironically, WWE SmackDown this last week wasn't a fan of like 90% of the show. Production wise, I think that Raw spoiled me, especially if that's going to be the going forward standard. I think you need to use the same approach. Obviously, it's different with being on the USA Network. Let's get SmackDown on Netflix too. Let's just do it. Like
The SmackDown had a very like B show feel to it, and I think part of the problem is that lately, SmackDown has been, the A show, like Roman and the Bloodline story, which is the
Cody,
biggest story in WWE. Cody, all, Kevin Owens, all over on SmackDown, and I have felt like Raw is the lesser of the two shows for a while now. If it's going to become the norm for Raw to have some of those stars, and then you're going to like just everybody else is going to be over on SmackDown.
yeah,
I'm not trying to diminish those. I'm not trying to say like the undercard isn't good in WWE. As a matter of fact, both AEW and WWE right now are fucking spoiled for talent. It's ridiculous how much talent is on both of those rosters.
if I'm gonna tune in to watch, I still expect reasonable like star power. It should be. It doesn't have to be the same, but it should be comparable. They had Cody and Jimmy versus Tama and Jacob Fatu, and there were some entertaining spots. You know, Jacob Fatu keeps stealing the show every time he's on camera, and I absolutely cannot wait till they give him the ball one day. That said, the only really big thing to me was Bailey being the new number one contender to help establish new women's champion, Tiffany Stratton, which kind of blows one of my predictions from WrestleMania. But
Yeah,
I'm excited to see what they do with Tiffany. I think Bailey is the perfect person to be a quality wrestler to give her a good match, and as a four horsewoman to help build her and put her over. Because you know the four horsewomen are starting to enter the end phases of their career. Where they're at their peaks. So they're gonna need to help establish the future generation. Uh, I'm excited to see what happens. Um, just the rest of the show, like Motor City Machine Guns now seem like they're lost in the shuffle. Um, Chelsea Green, her match with Michin, it was just nothing special. And
it's
I
okay.
hate saying that because they're all tremendously talented, but they got to give them something to work with. And I feel like they're taking and putting all their effort into Raw. And I know they're capable of building two quality shows. Maybe they just need to do fucking better.
I mean, it also could have been a situation, like really legitimately, it could have been a situation where the producers, they took all their best producers and pulled them over to Raw, and like you just didn't have the same production team backstage. And I know that might sound crazy, but a production team helping you go through the match and put it together and things
Yeah,
can really
yep,
change the quality of the match.
definitely agree. Overall, I'd call SmackDown a C. I'd call Raw kind of a B minus. Um, AEW is probably a B minus across both shows as well, which is really good for them lately because they've been kind of in the D to F category with me. That said, there is some news. Penta's debut was spoiled, obviously, for tonight's Raw by the WWEshop.com social media handles. There's merch already out for Penta, so you can already get your Penta masks. And while it's been very telegraphed, I do think that they did a big injustice to Penta here. They're
It should have
introducing
been
him to
last
their.
week.
I think he's supposed to be on last week,
Yeah.
but not only with Legends taking up all the mic time and causing people to go short, I'm at the point where it's just like every single person who's come over from AEW, whether it's Cody, Jade, I'm trying to think, there's one other one I'm forgetting, but they've all been made to feel like big stars. They've been presented that way, and I'm sure Penta, the in ring will work. Um, I'm just concerned that they're gonna book him as the middle of the LWO, abyss, which will be bullshit. and kind of racist in my opinion. I'm excited to see what he does in his match with Chad Gable. It's been very obviously telegraphed. Um, I just think that they lost a big opportunity to really generate some buzz with Penta. Um, we want to see him versus Ray. Everybody wants to see him versus Ray. I want to see him and Io Sky and Kairi Sane cross paths because they faced off in Lucha Underground. So like I'm really excited. And him, Chelsea Green and him had a match in Lucha Underground as well, and they went to war and like beat each other's ass.
It will be interesting to see if Triple H like opens up that that gateway where we're allowed to see women and men compete against each other.
Yeah,
Because,
I
like you
don't.
think about it, it wasn't an issue back in the '90s. China was Intercontinental Champion,
Yeah,
wrestled against Jarrett, wrestled against Jericho, wrestled against
I think.
several men.
Yeah, I think part of it is just how it looks in this day and age. Um, to
Luna
some audience,
Vachon as well, big a big name that wrestled against several men. It wasn't. I think like it. I can understand saying that it's only certain, only certain women that like make that choice to
yeah, it's
wrestle against
yeah,
the man or to be in a co-developed division.
yeah. I think there's an opportunity. I do, and I think there's a space. I'm all for it. My concern is you run the risk of turning off, sponsors. You run the risk of turning off viewers because some people aren't going to want to see a man beat up a woman. It's just kind of a bad look to some people, and it might just turn off. I think that's always been the fear, even when Vince was in charge. He was very selective with how he did it.
Well, I think the key is that you minimize the number of strikes in the match
Yeah, kind of
and
like
you focus
China and
more on the
Jericho's.
grappling. Yeah, focus a lot more. It's not that you can't have any, but just focus more on the grapples or use a kick to like be the like bend over setup to go into a move. That kind of thing, as opposed to like have them on the ground and keep kicking them.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I I definitely think there's an opportunity though, and I would be all for it. Maybe there needs to be an intersex championship or something like that, where both genders can vie for it and defend it. Be interesting.
Wasn't that Andy Kaufman's title?
Yeah,
Wasn't he? Was it Andy Kaufman, the intergender champion?
he was actually the women's champion, I believe, in Memphis with Lawler's promotion. In
I thought it was
I
the
think he
in.
was defending it as an intergender championship.
Okay, okay. I mean, I
Um,
know he wrestled several women
yeah, he
for
wrestled almost
the
exclusively women except for Jerry the King Lawler.
Lawler.
But yeah, I mean, I'm excited to see where things go with Raw and Netflix. SmackDown now going to USA. I think they kind of need to step it up. Maybe take a few of the good producers, move them back over to SmackDown to help fix that. AEW, you feel like you guys are going in the right direction. I'm excited for a while, optimistically. That said, Brian, I think it's time for us to kind of open up to the audience. Get your guys' thoughts on uh, Hulk Hogan being booed, out of the building in LA. The thoughts on how he handled it, or just ask us questions. There's a lot going on in the wrestling world. There's certain whiny assholes out there complaining on TikTok on their podcasts. It's kind of rich coming on our podcast and saying that, but
I no, you know what? I okay. Um, well, there's been a lot of whiny assholes lately, especially this last week, and I'm gonna get into a little something here, a little bit of something, something. Hey, you know who you are. You really want to call down the heat after years? It ain't no way. That ain't no way to be, man. Um, who, you know who I'm talking to. Okay, so we had it brought to our attention earlier this week that an old associate of ours decided to talk some smack about us. It actually led to a really nice conversation that I had with some of the current performers in the EFED space. They wanted to shout out some, and overall, they wanted to shout out HKW and send some love our way and tell us that we had done a pretty good job.
It was nice to hear
But
those.
yeah, it was. For those that did feel disestablished with HKW, I'm really sorry. That's all I can say at this point. I mean,
We kind of spoiled you
that's
guys.
been done and over for years. But if you still feel ill about it and you really want to come talk to me, I guess come talk to me.
Yeah.
Well, what do we got? What do we got? We got some people in the wings here, Evan.
Yeah, we got Daniel of New Year's Evil with The Rock showing up on NXT, slapping Ethan Page's sweet ass. Daniel, I don't believe that it was just the words of The Rock. I believe that was also your words too. And The Rock's rambling, quite pointless promo to end the show. Well, they got cut on the CW for a reason because overtime Dwayne goes overtime every single time.
Mm-hmm. I think part of the going overtime has to do with The Rock is an Attitude Era performer, and the Attitude Era was notorious for going over time limits. So I just don't think he respects time limits, quite frankly, and I think it's terrible
I mean,
because
he
it
is
does.
the
It takes
final
time
boss.
away. It takes time away from other performers, and like the thing is like The Rock says, okay, like I'll be at NXT tomorrow night. Okay, then
That's,
when you tune in to see The Rock on NXT, I expect you to fucking say something. Have any kind of importance for you to be there and why you're taking up TV time. And instead, it was just more of The Rock being like, I'm The Rock, and I'm just bored of it. Like, don't come out here just to tell me that you're smarter than internet marks. Is
yeah.
that really what you wasted my time for?
So I'll be honest. I was fine with Dwayne going down there to NXT. It put some spotlight on NXT. I was great with that. I didn't care for him starting the show by walking into the arena with the attention all being on him. This is developmental. I did enjoy the promo segment with Ethan Page and his daughter. I thought that was great. He slapped him on the ass and said to do some good work. It was a little cringe, but at least he wasn't drinking and driving this time, so I'll call that a win.
I mean, I don't know. I thought it was kind of weak. Just
Yeah.
overall as a promo,
Well, I meant
I
the
like.
backstage segment with those two.
No,
The promo in
that's what I'm
ring,
talking about too. That's what I'm talking about too. Like he was still all like jovial and joking around with Ethan Page, and I really would have loved it if he would like. This is another one of those little things that could have changed it for me. Let's take out the slapping Ethan Page on the ass and tell him he has a sweet ass. Instead, do the just like you used to do in the promos back in the day. Do the handshake. Ethan Page goes to walk away, but he doesn't let go, and he pulls him back in, gets real close, and drops his voice in. And don't forget, The Rock said his daughter is the final boss around here. Like, re-emphasize the point. That
yeah,
would have been something that like made the promo mean something, made the segment mean something. It gives more.
yeah,
You're like, okay, now she has more authority because The Rock fucking said that she has more authority. But overall, I didn't find any value in his time on
yeah.
NXT.
I
I,
am
I
excited.
appreciate what you're saying about like eyes on the product, but like,
I am excited about something with NXT because they're bringing in Scott D'Amore to handle NXT booking, while Triple H and Shawn Michaels handle Raw and SmackDown. I am excited about that. That
that
was a
and
TNA
I'm
swung and missed on that one.
and I hope that means that we're going to get some more TNA crossover or more TNA stars that like decide to make a jump. I mean, okay, let me ask you this, man. Do you believe? Do you believe at the Royal Rumble?
Oh yeah, it has to happen. At this point, it has to happen. You're gonna be live in Indianapolis. All eyes. It's gonna be the first real big pay-per-view after the Netflix special. There's no reason to not do it. He doesn't have to win. He doesn't even have to eliminate
Oh no,
anybody.
he doesn't have to. He can. I think you're doing like AJ Styles. Bring him out at number 3.
You know, let him get a couple, some good offense in. He can get eliminated like by the time 7 or 8 come in. Give him a good 5 to 10 minutes. He's in the match. He gets the rub. He pops a bigger rating.
It needs to be early enough that everyone can sing the song.
Yes, because everybody sings the whole song. It's like Jericho's um, Judas thing for us for a while.
Yep.
Dan's got some more questions. Do you feel NWA will eventually shut down with no TV network as right now? Is there essentially all clips of shows on the CW app and essentially show their pay-per-views on their weekly show? I'm be honest with you, I kind of forgot the NWA existed. Just full transparency, I was off of wrestling, outside of like catching up and watching an occasional show for a while. So I kind of forgot they existed. That might be my bad, but it doesn't sound like it was my bad. Um, since Billy Corgan bought the product and they've reinvested in YouTube and like how they do their shows, though, I've been trying to catch up on what I can. Um, just when I hear about it. I don't think they're going to get a TV deal. For those of you that are unfamiliar, the NWA, basically the Crockett era promotions down south, they used to film all their shows kind of within like a couple months of each other, and then the talent would be able to go back out on the road working the indie scenes at the time, the territories. So that's why you could see like Flair show up in Puerto Rico or Japan. Um,
The NWA now it likes to affiliate itself with a lot of different indie brands all over the country, and the problem with that is just like the inconsistency of seeing the same wrestlers on both sides of the ring. Like you'll have this one guy who's an established NWA guy, and he'll go to all these different promotions and work these different shows and things, but his opponents who are rarely ever going over, um, they come across as glorified jobbers across the country, and so then
yeah.
that discourages a lot of those indie promotions from wanting to work with the NWA because at the end of the day, NWA isn't going to have their guys there for every show, and you still need your guys to have credibility. So
Yep.
it's
Yeah, I want the NWA to succeed. If I'm being honest, I mean, maybe it just makes sense for the WWE to pick it up and bring it on as, merge it with NXT, or just create a new brand with it. Or maybe AEW buys it. Tony Khan's got the money.
WWE should buy it. At this point, I think the idea of it has kind of lost its potency. Yeah. And at this point, with what WWE has, and especially because Triple H is the guy in charge, right? And so you can very much see, an actual Hall of Fame, coming to fruition, like a physical Hall of Fame coming to fruition. And I think that the NWA legacy deserves to be a part of that Hall of Fame, that story that gets told.
No, I don't really think that's the logical conclusion, in my opinion. I think the NWA came back at a time when wrestling was desperate for an alternative. It came back before even AEW had arrived. People were consuming New Japan content. They were tired of the Vince McMahon WWE machine, all the bullshit. You had Nick Aldis as the world heavyweight champion in the NWA for 4 years in a row, and he was traveling around the world, and he was, having matches. I mean, All In, he had a match with Cody, and
Yep. Lost it for a month or two, and then
and then got it back, which that
back.
is what it is. But my whole thing is, I think it's lost a lot of its steam, relevancy. WWE's back up to being popular again. It's the same problem that e-fetting has. Even though neither of us have done that in a long time, e-fed's boom period was when WWE sucked, and there was no alternative.
Yep,
it's the truth. I think the logical conclusion to WWE, Triple H, just snap it up, make the Hall of Fame happen. We got time for one more question. What do you think they will do with Lance Anoa'i and Hukilo? Well, at this point, NXT, because how many pieces of the Bloodline story are you going to have running around? You're eventually going to run out of something for them to do. Also, at this point, every time I turn on an app or reading a wrestling article, Rikishi's got a new kid.
that family's flipping huge, man. So, I have had the thought that one thing that could happen, specifically with Solo losing now, trying to figure out where the story's going. I thought it could be kind of cool if Solo came out, he acknowledged Roman as the tribal chief of his family, and then immediately super kicked him and said, "But I ain't a part of your family. This is my family." Has Jacob give him his own Ulafala, a black one?
Yeah, I mean, the Anoa'i and Fatus aren't the cousins and things like that. But it's not, I mean, if you go back to last year's WrestleMania build, The Rock showed the family tree. It was a huge fucking family tree. There's a lot you can do with this. I'm excited to see what they do with it. I hope that Solo Sikoa is back soon. That said, I don't think we need more people joining the Bloodline, because otherwise it's just going to be the NWO 2.0.
And to its credit, all the current Bloodline members on both sides coming together to form one super faction wouldn't necessarily be, a terrible thing. If done correctly.
I know.
But the problem with it, the big problem with it, is that when you have that many guys in a faction, you lack space for certain individuals to be able to progress. So, if you have Roman already as your main event, so you've already established Jay as going after your high mid card title, and maybe Jimmy or Sammy is on that mid card level too. What outside of the tag team division, you start running out of places to put these guys outside of filler matches, which is why guys like Brian Adams and Conan were getting jobbed out in '96.
Yeah, that's what I'm worried about. It would become WCW 2.0. I'm excited to see where they go. Like I said,
I misspoke. 97. Sorry.
Yeah. Still, I mean, the point's still relevant. All right. Well, just to let everybody know, I'm gonna go ahead and drop. We've got a new referral link. So if you guys use StreamYard, feel free to use our referral link. It not only helps you, but it helps us as we grow, as we're looking at branching out to other streaming platforms. I've had a couple Twitch streams. I've had some decent viewings on there. Master Duel content. It's interesting to learn. It's a whole different dynamic when you're streaming. Yeah, I'm excited to kind of see where things go. What all do you got going on right now, Brian?
doing a lot of work with Missile Dropkick Wrestling Association here in Detroit. Having a lot of fun with that group. We got a show coming February 24th. So if you want to see like us at our best, come on out to Detroit, February 24th, Garden City, Michigan, Tipton Academy. And I guarantee you'll see some fireworks. Besides that, just living and enjoying life, my friend. Just living and enjoying life.
Same. All right, guys. Well, that's going to do it for us this week. As always, make sure you go to enforceshoe.com, enter the code SOG24 for your 24% off. It'll make you
AKRD. I got him.
He's got to get his get back, I guess. All right, guys. Well, it's been fun. We'll see you next week.
Take it easy, guys. Have a good night.